Okay, so this is an example of how when we post something that we want to share on social media, in this case Facebook, we are actually feeding into the meme, the frame, the ideas that we may not want to reinforce out in society. For example, here we see this MSNBC article titled "Paul Ryan's Convinced Time to Cut Taxes on the Wealthy." Well, you and I might think that trickle down philosophy has proven to be disastrous for America, and in fact, it never reaches the vast majority of us. And cutting taxes on the wealthy is exactly the opposite of what would be good for most of us, because they don't invest their money in more jobs and in an American infrastructure. And so they just hold on to their money when we cut taxes on the wealthy, and we have less resources in America to invest in things like fixing our roads and schools and things like that. So, where it says Paul Ryan is convinced, we have discussed that rule number one in politics is name recognition is gold. So we really don't want to keep saying people's names who we don't want to see get elected. In this case, if you don't want to see Paul Ryan get elected, then stop promoting him by mentioning his name so much. You might say, use his title instead, or Republican congressperson. And then here, what we say is time to cut taxes on the wealthy is how MSNBC titled this. Well, again, this is like saying, don't think of a pink elephant. And George Lakoff rather goes into this in great detail in his book, that it's called negation. When you say something, you're putting that out into the world. You can't tell somebody, don't think of a pink elephant, because try it now for yourself. Try not to think of a pink elephant. I'm waiting. It doesn't work. The mind thinks of it. It drops out the negative, and all you think of is pink elephant. So in this case, all you're thinking of is cut taxes on the wealthy. Paul Ryan, time to cut taxes on the wealthy. That's the message that MSNBC is putting out there. Do you think they want to put out there the message, hey, it's time to cut taxes on the wealthy, and hey, by the way, think about Paul Ryan? No, I don't think so. But that's what they're putting out there inadvertently by not understanding how the mind, the brain works, and that they're reinforcing this frame, this idea set of ideas. That's a conservative frame, that cutting taxes on the wealthy is good. Well, it isn't. So what I want to show you is that when you post an article on Facebook, you see how when you mouse over it, it turns yellow? Well, now click on it. You could actually change the title here, okay? So we can go in and say, instead of Paul Ryan's convinced time to cut taxes on the wealthy, we could say, um, um, in, time for fair, um, responsible tax policies should be considered. Just to think of something off the top of my head. And then you could click on the subject here, which says the U.S. is in the midst of a gilded age with wealth concentrated at the very top, but Ryan still demands tax cuts because capital is mobile. Uh, you know, go ahead and change that if you want to. It's your post, and say. Tax fairness is something most wealthy people today agree should include higher taxes for those who can afford it most to invest in America again. Why not? They're letting us do this so we can put out the frame that's going to support our policies that support most Americans, most people. And in fact, most people agree that people who make most have more, that they should respond to paying back into the system to pay it forward so that the next generation can come up and have great schools and roads and safe bridges to cross and more jobs and higher wages. So everyone, even the wealthiest people in America today, agree that our tax code needs to be fair so that the secretary of the billionaire it doesn't end up paying more taxes than the billionaire themselves. So you just hit enter, and there, now it says time for fair, responsible tax policies should be considered. Tax fairness is something most wealthy people today agree should include higher taxes for those who can afford it most to invest in America again. And then you hit post. And that is how we change the frame from a conservative frame that reinforces a conservative message that doesn't work for us to a progressive frame that reinforces a progressive message that works for everybody, even though very rich. Thank you. I'll share more on this later.